My name is Matt Call. I'm an associate professor of management at Mays School of Business. Everybody is nervous. And what leaders often miss is they recognize they can't tell employees everything, right? But when you don't tell employees something, they fill in the gaps. And it usually is their paranoia, right? That the gaps are filled in with. And so I think good leaders learn how to be as transparent as they can and recognize there are certain things they don't know and be open about those things that they don't know. And that's how you build trust in an era where people, we've done employee sentiment surveys. The vast majority of people are nervous about what's happening. They're nervous, even down to, what's going to happen existentially, like for our kids, how is this going to pan out? And so I think it's going to take some very strong leaders to learn how to be honest about this and learn how to say, there are not only business, but also ethical implications that are here. Most executives at this point, their simultaneous worry was not moving fast enough, but also moving too fast. It's kind of this simultaneous, tension of what is everyone doing? How can we catch up? But also we're doing things without fully understanding what the implications are. And so when it comes to reducing force, a lot of times you make these decisions and say, hey, we probably won't need these folks. And then AI doesn't necessarily scale without the trouble that you thought it would have. And there's some data to suggest that people are rehiring workers back after AI reductions or AI-induced headcount reductions. So, an unfortunate circumstance. The bottom line is, AI is leading to more efficiency. In most people are reporting that their workforces are more efficient, but there's a lag in how they're seeing it actually return on their investment. So it's hard for them to see where the dollars and cents are actually coming from. Well, one of the more important things that has already started, but we will continue to see more of in the face of kind of the restructuring of the workforce, reshaping of the workforce in the face of AI, is that companies are going to have to strategically reduce their workforce in ways that they hope will, give them the return on their investments in AI. In the research, there's a lot of data to kind of support the idea that, survivors of the layoff often undergo a really increased amount of uncertainty, and they are looking for answers. They're thinking, am I next? Their best friend, they just saw get essentially fired. And so usually what happens is people immediately start updating their resumes. And so people do their workforce planning and they say, okay, these are probably the jobs that are going to be obsolete in the face of AI transformations, and they do their reduction in count, and they often don't think about what ensues after that. We did a data collection of some chief people officers, and we asked them a question. One of the interesting things about AI and the reshaping of the workforce is, so we asked them some questions about, are you seeing reductions in headcount because of AI? And many of them were hesitant to say yes. One of the things we asked them is, to kind of reframe the question, do you think other companies are using AI as a scapegoat to reduce headcount? And 85% of them said yes, meaning they didn't want to self-report that they were using AI as kind of this excuse to reduce headcount, but they are noticing that their peers and others are saying, hey, we can kind of blame AI as this boogeyman for whatever, layoffs that we're doing now. And so they were willing to report that is something that others were doing. So a lot of people are talking about how AI will replace jobs, and one of the ways that might actually play out is that when companies employ what are called enterprise-level AI tools, and that's everything from embedding it into your Microsoft Office or giving kind of a company-level ChatGPT or Claude. When you work inside those company tools, it's able to, at a granular level, understand your workflows, because you start building your workflows out into those company-owned kind of tools. And the more you work in it, the more it can actually learn from you. I mean, that's what these large language models are, is they're learning, and you teach it, right? You eventually teach it how to do your job. And so when these company kind of owned and level, when these company level models over time are able to see how you do your job, eventually the notion is that they will be able to do it without you, right? And so one of the things I explore and just really ask questions about, I don't think we honestly know a ton about how this is going to play out, is, when and where is it appropriate to use your own kind of personal AI tools. Of course, you can't go against company policy, but at times there are, this is a question of kind of intellectual property. Do we start to pay attention to those things when we're joining a company? We say, hey, if I work in this, am I going to be obsolete? Am I agreeing to give you everything? I think more than anything, there needs to be conversations about this. And the thing that's really, I would say, I don't want to use the word dangerous, but I think the thing that leads to so much uncertainty around how AI is going to transform the workforce is the fact that most of this is being done without really formalized governance. I know everyone is really scrambling to get good governance in place in their companies, but I don't think I've talked to one executive who's like, yeah, we've got this figured out. How to communicate it, how to monitor it, how to make sure that not only employees but the company are well represented. People are using AI without saying they're using it. Companies are gathering data without being fully, it's probably in some disclosure somewhere, but they're not outright saying, hey, everything you're doing is being captured. And so what I am in favor of is just having more conversations, asking more questions, because I believe that that's the only way to get people to trust each other, is to say, hey, what is our mutual interest? And let's do this in a way that that we can all, be okay with going forward.